Greetings, family. Welcome. Check in, family. Welcome. It's good to see everybody. This is my second podcast for today, but it's very necessary. So, we're going to give a breaking Iraq news today. We're going to keep this brief because we know people have things to do and we report it twice a day. So, check in, let us know where you're hailing from. This is Thursday, February the 6th, 2025, and the time is 8:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I see people checking in on Instagram. Hello, welcome. We're going to talk about Iraq today because earlier today we already covered some other news as it relates to what's going on in America. We talked about how President Trump released information regarding how our tax dollars were actually funding U.S. aid programs abroad to perform different transgender surgeries, to entice people to participate in the alphabet letter Rainbow Coalition. We discussed how our tax dollars were funding programs and agendas to break up marriages, how to use certain immunizations, and all type of things. So catch my podcast from earlier this morning. We talked about so much as it relates to where our tax dollars were going. And President Trump actually revealed that a lot of our dollars, millions, if not billions of our dollars, were being funneled into mainstream media, liberal mainstream media programs. And how Trump said that's coming to a screeching halt. And he also said that United States aid workers were to come back home immediately. In fact, he said all U.S. aid direct hire personnel will be placed on administrative leave globally, with the exception of designated personnel that's responsible for mission critical functions, core leadership, et cetera, et cetera. But most workers have to cease and desist that are participate in United States aid, foreign aid that's supposed to be helping these countries abroad, but actually channeling liberal left-wing programs into their countries. And so you saw a lot of people actually in African nations, some South American, Central American nations that were saying that they were a little worried about US aid not going to their countries anymore because that means they will be out of some jobs. Some of them couldn't participate in fun programs. And some people we know were even calling us complaining, like we have friends in some of these nations, but we had to encourage them to see it from a different perspective, that the aid that America or the federal government was sending to these countries was for transgender programs and programs that didn't necessarily hold to their ideologies of those countries, and it wasn't necessarily conducive to the families or to the financial economic well-being of those nations. So again, President Trump issued this out that as of tomorrow, all direct hire personnel from U.S. aid programs were placed on administrative leave. Please catch my podcast from earlier today because that was extensive. And I showed you all of the program lists and lists of programs that your tax dollars were actually funding and had nothing to do with helping the people abroad. We also discussed how President Trump said that he was continuing with the tariffs on other countries if they didn't want to do business with America properly. He said, we're going to put tariffs on you, and that way we don't have to tax our people. So he said he's going to do away with the internal revenue services, getting rid of the IRS and creating the external revenue services, which makes sense. And we also reported how even though some of those countries were pushing back, like China, Mexico, and Canada, we see now that Trudeau from Canada, Justin Trudeau, said, you know what? At first I said, if you put tariffs on us, I'm going to put tariffs back on you. And President Trump has said, well, I'm not afraid of your tariffs and I'm not relenting. Not only are you going to pay the tariffs and pay up, but you're going to secure the border and make sure Intanofe, speaking in pig Latin, doesn't continue to come into my borders. And now Trudeau is saying, you know what, we'll call a truce. So they halted the tariff talks because Trudeau has said, yes, I'm going to protect the borders. I'm not going to allow Intanofe to come from Canada into America, and I'm going to do what you say. Trump is on a rampage. Not only did he say these countries are going to pay, but he sent a message out to United States CEO corporate leaders and said, build in America or pay up. And he means it. Either you come back home to America and you make American products for Americans, or you can continue to stay abroad to get cheap labor and you'll have taxes and tariffs put upon you. So he is not playing with these people. Now, the Canadian government before, as well as China, the Chinese representatives had tried to meet with the border czar here in America and tried to come up with some type of negotiations. But who wrote The Art of Negotiations? Who wrote that? The Art of the Deal? President Trump. He's a businessman. He said, you can try to negotiate with me, my administration, my border czars, all you want, but you will lose. Hello, Harvard. Sister Harvetta Lassiter Bay. It's good to see you. It's good to see everybody. Keep checking in, family. I love you all so much, and I appreciate you being here to share your time and energy with us. So President Trump is not playing with these people. We talked about all that this morning, and we just encourage the Soul family to keep your vibrations high. Things are indeed changing. We also talked about how schools are closing in Kentucky and Indiana, and how a lot of children are now being forced to participate in non-traditional instruction, NTIs, where they're being instructed at home through the computer because of widespread sicknesses. So we don't know what's going on with this widespread sickness, but I do know that people are reporting from different states that they see all of this stuff being spewed into the air. They're like, it's like a white flurry of, it almost looks like snowflakes, but they can tell it's like some kind of bugs or some type of virus that's visible to the eye. And my son saw it and recorded it here in Jacksonville, Florida as well. And he showed me something about whereby somebody from North Carolina filmed the same thing. So viruses, sicknesses are flying through the air, and that's causing for some schools to be shut down in Kentucky and Indiana. And we also reported how schools are being shut down in the northeastern region and the eastern region, New Jersey, New York, as well as other areas because of sicknesses and because of inclement weather. Airports are grounding some of their flights or delaying flights because of inclement weather that's either in the Northeast or that they anticipate occurring in the Midwest and the Northeast. So a lot is happening, family. A lot is happening. Pray for our family members. We see that Sister Judy said that she's sick. Pamela W., who is a supporter of our show, son passed away. Pray for her. Many of our soul family members are running out of cash, or they have become unemployed. So much is going on, family. So we'll continue on with this report, but please remember to be respectful. Even if you disagree, share your comments. It doesn't matter if you disagree. Just make sure that you are respectful, because Love BN Nubian, who is our moderator, is not playing with us. She wants to keep the vibrations high, and she wants to make sure that we are all encouraged as we hear the global financial and geopolitical news. Love BN Nubian, please send me an email and let me know if you heard back from Chief Mac, and I'll make sure that he gets the messages from you. I did contact him, but he gets so many messages, so I want to make sure that you get in contact with him. Melissa says, I'm loving life, right? Me too. We are loving life, and we're doing our best to stay positive. Now, President Trump is making sure that America stays as positive as they can. He just recently created the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is a fund that's comprised of gold and assets like foreign reserves, current currencies, stocks, bonds, etc., and different assets, so that the government can use these funds for development, for the infrastructure, and to invest in certain things. So when you have a sovereign fund, it means that the government owns this fund and the government can use it instead of taxing the people for development, for infrastructure. And now some of these funds will be held in the banks. And now, of course, the banks are being monitored, and the banks now have to be transparent. So President Trump created this sovereign wealth fund to make America great again and to make America wealthy again. So stay encouraged, family. This has all the components of NESARA GESARA. I can see it. The National Economic Security Wealth to National Economic Security and Reformation Act. Okay, here in America, and other nations have sovereign wealth funds, and they always have, especially your oil-rich nations. So the ones that will continue to do so, and the new ones abroad that will have these sovereign wealth programs or funds, will be in compliance with the Global Economic Security and Reformation Fund. This is all good news. So again, nations won't tax their own people. We were being taxed not to rebuild the infrastructure, not to create better roads, but we were being taxed to send money abroad to force our fellow brothers and sisters from other nations to participate in left-wing ideologies, okay? And we don't want that to continue to happen. So you have to look at my report from earlier today to see where all of our tax dollars were going. And now President Trump is indeed shutting all of that down. He promised us he was going to totally obliterate the deep state, and that's what we see doing. So whereby some people are complaining abroad, you do have some people taking to their social media outlets from different countries saying, hey, we've known for a long time that the government in the United States was complicit in enslaving other countries. We know that many of the presidents in Africa, South America, Central America, Australia, all over the world, Canada, all over the world were receiving funds from America and therefore being controlled by America. Not the Republic for America, but the United States of America Incorporated, the fake faux government. Okay. So a lot of people are taking to their social media telling their people and their nationals in their countries, this is a good thing that the funding will stop in our countries. Because we have resources, we have gold, they have iron, they have oil, they have palladium, platinum, they have rare earth minerals abroad. They have all types of things like cobalt and things that we've been using here in America and other European nations for our cell phones, our computers, and just to make our life easier. So these oil-rich nations and gold-rich nations are saying, we don't need foreign aid anyway. We applaud President Donald Trump, even if the administration doesn't agree. So this is good news. All of this is causing people to wake up. On the other side of the fence, though, you have people here in America that are here unlawfully or illegally, whether they be illegal immigrants or migrants, that are protesting, taking to the streets. Greetings, my loves. Taking to the streets, that are saying that no human is illegal and no human is unlawful. And although we get that and we know that, you still have to go by certain rules and procedures in order to enter another person's home, another person's country. Just like there are rules put upon Americans if they want to enter a country and they don't just automatically get all of these benefits, billions of dollars worth of benefits, you can't do that here. So, okay, they're peacefully protesting, but it seems like they all got the same memo because they're all saying the same thing. No human is illegal. We support America. We're not going home, while they're waving their national flags. So, I mean, that causes some of us to pause, because it's like, if you're here waving your flag saying you're not going home, it looks to me like you're saying that your allegiance is to your country, and that's okay. Then go back home and help rebuild your country, or get your affairs in order and come here lawfully. So that's one thing, to wave your flag arrogantly in the faces of the American people while you're on our turf. I mean, that's kind of like bursting through my door saying, hey, I'm in your house and I'm going to wave my own rules and my own allegiance and do whatever I want in your house, and you better not put me out. That's one thing. But I reported this morning that they're also desecrating, some of them, the American flag. Now, that's not all the people that are here, but we saw an actual video of people in LA protesting burning the American flag. And I told you, it used to be unlawful or illegal to do that. But now, according to a Supreme Court ruling that occurred in 1989, I believe it was called something like Texas versus Johnson. Nevertheless, there was a 5-4 ruling that indeed you could desecrate the United States flag because it was your right to free speech. And when we reported this earlier, some people were like, well, Pruitt, the flag is in alignment with the United States Incorporated, and so they should be allowed to burn the flag. And to that, I say, I don't agree. Okay, because if in fact we're saying that is the flag right now, and we are still under the old regime, and we know President Donald Trump is the 47th president and the CEO of the United States Incorporated, and he is the commander in chief, and he's using their tools against them, which are executive orders, writing off executive orders, reversing everything that the communists and the socialists here in America, Biden and et al., all of them, he's using executive orders to undo everything they did to dismantle that system. And he will eventually let us know when it's completely done and we will turn over to the Republic. But right now, that is the flag of the United States. Okay. And it will be a different flag or a modified version of this flag. But I mean, it's just rude, even if it is a part of the corporation. The people from other countries don't have the right and the liberty, shouldn't take the liberty to say, well, you're a corporation, you're not a republic, so we're going to do whatever we want. Maybe they can try that in their own home, in their own countries, and see what happened. I mean, it's kind of like if you're a Christian and somebody comes in and they know you support the cross, okay? Somebody comes in your home and they say, hey, we don't believe in Christian ideology. That's outdated religion. So I'm going to stomp on this cross and burn it up in your house. If you're a Christian and you wear the cross or you support the cross, you're going to be like offended. Or if you're a Muslim and they burn your Quran, some people may not agree to that religion, but how dare they come in your house and burn your Quran? You see where I'm getting at? People need to respect other people's rules in their house. And I agree, we need to run our own country, okay? So we saw them burning the flag, and we know that President Trump will take care of anybody that is not abiding by our laws, and he will make sure that you come here and be here lawfully and do business here lawfully, or you'll be deported. And he has indeed signed off on an executive order. That's one of the first things he did, to deport anybody that's not here lawfully. Is it Pamela Wide Eyes Clear whose son passed away, family? I know it was Pamela W. So please send prayers for her. Send prayers also for Diane Ghost. Love being Nubian, our moderator, is saying, pray for the families here and abroad too, because a lot is going on. People are tired. People are passing away, family. And people sometimes don't understand why we have to be strict. Trump, again, yes, he is on fire, but he has to do what he has to do to take care of America. America first, family. All right. So we've got to do what we got to do. He's working night and day. He's burning both ends of the candle to ensure that America is taken care of. So what's going on abroad, though? I said I'm going to talk to you all. Somebody said, ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. The vanilla, was it vanilla, ice, ice, baby? So ICE is handling business. But what's going on here in America, family? I am so glad you asked. Somebody said they wanted me to know that Japan just accepted the challenge to move towards XRP. I'm glad to hear that. We'll talk about XRP just a little bit. In just a little bit, somebody says Ripple 21 shares EFTs in the Swift Bank. A lot is going on. Okay, what happened to Lynn? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Lynn. So you guys let me know. I guess you're talking about the podcaster, Lynn? I don't know. So here is breaking Iraqi news. I just wanted to give everybody a chance to come into the chat and let us know where you're hailing from. Hi, all. Yes, you want to respect this country, and we're going to make America great again. Trump said it's a year in jail if you burn the flag. All right. Right. Because what if we started burning other countries' flags? That's just flagrant disrespect. That's arrogant. That's arrogant. Absolutely. Yes, me too. I am so grateful for the changing of the guard. Hello, family. Yes, thank you, President Trump. Earth Alliance, Global Alliance, Galactic Federation, Grand Army of the Republic, everybody that's helping to free humanity. We are so grateful for you, even if it's the ancestors that have returned or extraterrestrial beings, beings that have come from other parts of the terrain that we may have never seen before. All right, so as it relates to Iraq's news, U.S. Representative Joe Wilson from South Carolina tweeted something today. He said President Trump issued a directive requiring the Treasury Department to immediately ensure that Iran no longer utilize or control the Iraqi financial system. This is great news, okay? No longer is Iran to control the Iraqi financial system. And now Iraq will have full control of their own system. How does that sound to you guys? Now Iraq can be free. Iraq can operate in their sovereignty. And I was paying attention to some people's follow-up tweets to this, like Majid, he's actually from the Middle East. He said Iraq is free and Iran is out. RV incoming. So people have asked, does this mean that the Iraqi dinar is revaluing? Will it be reinstated very soon? We shall see. So let's look at what Representative Joe Wilson had to say. He showcased something that Trump wrote in his executive order. I hope you guys can see that. Let me make it just a little bigger as it relates to Iraq. The United States Treasury Department must take immediate steps in coordination with the Secretary. We must take immediate steps in coordination with the Secretary of the Treasury and other relevant agencies to ensure that the Iraqi financial system is not utilized by Iran for sanction evasion or circumvention, and that the Gulf countries are not used as sanction evasion transshipment points. So now Iraq has full control of their own financial system, and the United States Treasury Department is monitoring that and ensuring that that happens. This is great news, family. As Majid said, Iraq is finally free. Let us know what you think about that. Joe Wilson, United States representative, who tweeted this, said, I told you Trump would fix this. And he is. So what he actually said, he tweeted that part of the executive order from President Donald Trump. And he also said here, I'm grateful for President Trump that he issued a directive requiring the Treasury Department to immediately ensure the Iraqi financial system is no longer utilized by the Iranian regime. Now, Iran has been controlling Iraq for some time, and it looks like the Iraqi government might have even been complicit in their own control by Iran. I'll show you why I think that. Some governments and presidents unfortunately sell out their own people and their own nation. We see it. We saw it happening here in America. We saw presidents sell us out to the Ukrainian mafia, to the Chinese Communist Party. I mean, luckily, a couple of years ago, 400 million people defected from the Chinese Communist Party. And luckily, on February the 8th, 2020, we saw Secretary Pompeo call all the governors on a carpet at the governors conference, and he said, look, I see all of you governors that have been complicit with the Chinese Communist Party. He said, I have a report card. I showed you all the video too of how complicit you governors have been with the Chinese Communist Party, and they have graded you all from A to F to see how complicit you've been. So I'm going to tell you that I know that you've allowed the Chinese Communist Party to come to America and infiltrate every segment of our society. You've allowed them to infiltrate science, politics, higher education, research, education at the school level, at the tertiary school level with our children. You've allowed the Chinese Communist Party to infiltrate the banking system, to buy up land here. That's why Evergrande, the largest real estate company owned by China, owns so much land in America because they were allowed to. And Governor Pompeo said, look, I was a former CIA director. I know I'm the secretary now, but I know what's been going on. And I'm telling you to cease and desist, because we are going to take extreme measures against all of you governors. I know all 50 of you, if not all of you, most of you have been complicit in the Chinese Communist Party. And he said that February 8th, 2020, right before there was a widespread announcement of the pandemic. Because remember, we got that official announcement March 13th, 2020, and the whole world shut down. Well, he was trying to warn the people, the governors, but the governors went forward with this agenda to allow Antifa, Black Lives Matter to rush through the cities and the states, tear up the countries under the guise of protecting the people, or under the guise of protesting against the unaliving of George Floyd, and in some states, the unaliving of Breonna Taylor. And these marches completely decimated cities and states. But Pompeo tried to warn them. Here we are today, 2025, and Trump he's also calling governors and mayors at the forefront and on the carpet, because he sees what they're doing. And so you're going to see a lot of governors, mayors, city officials have to step down. And this has to happen in order for NESARA to come in. So for the people that saying, why haven't we exchanged our currencies yet? Why haven't we become wealthy yet? Why haven't, everybody seen humanitarian aid rush through their countries? It's because this is a controlled demolition of the deep state, and it takes time. But if you would just bear with this administration, family, you will see that Trump is not playing with these people. He is on fire. He is issuing out executive order after executive order, day and night. He was even shown on mainstream media doing that today. This is only it's only been it's been less than a month. It's been like 3 weeks, the third week that Trump has been in office. Already he's shutting down the borders, deporting people, putting tariffs on other countries, exposing how U.S. aid was spent on mainstream media and sent to the other countries, exposing a lot of things that the deep state is doing. As I said, deporting people and creating the sovereign wealth fund. I mean, the man is on fire. So just family, stay encouraged. So let's get on back to what's happening with Iraq. Prayerfully, now that Iraq is free, seemingly, at least from Iran, the Iraqi dinar will be reinstated soon. I showed how there were some people from other countries that were on board with what's happening with the Treasury Department now making sure that Iran no longer controls Iraq. As a matter of fact, there was this one gentleman who is the assistant professor of the Department of Mathematics and Finances at King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals in Saudi Arabia that tweeted, the Saudi Arabians support what Donald Trump is doing in ensuring that Iran no longer controls Iraq. Very, very interesting. But I said, it looks like Iran could have been complicit in selling out their people. And that's why I got off on presidents here in America, governors and mayors were selling us out. They were allowing Antifa to come into our cities. They were allowing Black Lives Matter to infiltrate peaceful protests and tear up our cities and our states, tear up the banks, especially during the global shutdown of the world. And so now they have to be dealt with. But many countries were complicit in the enslavement of their own people because they're all a part of secret societies, whether it's to be the Skull and Bones or the Boule or the Divine Nine or other secret societies of the Masonic Freemasons. And when you are in agreement with them and you sign up with them, you have to do what they say, or else they will blackmail you. Okay. But now this is coming to a screeching halt. And again, like I said, the precursor to this was that 400 million people from the Chinese Communist Party defecting. Thank God. And Evergrande, the largest real estate company owned by the Chinese Communist Party, filed for bankruptcy a couple years ago, and they were forced to liquidate their assets. So we did see a change happening under Trump's first administration, and some of it was even going into the Biden administration because Trump was still the acting president behind the scenes because he had never conceded. So now he's the 47th president and CEO of the United States Incorporated. And he will continue to use these executive orders, which is their tool of the United States, to dismantle the system. When it's all said and done, when that final document is signed, he will make an announcement that the republic has been restored and then turn everything back over to the republic. We're not there yet, but we're awfully close. He is not only doing things to make America great, but he is making other nations great again. So back to Iran and Iraq. Iran and Iran-backed countries are now pushing back on their demand for United States troops to withdraw from Iraq, okay? Because President Trump is not playing with Iran. He's not playing with these nations. I'll bring that article up for you guys to see in 1 minute, but I don't know if you remember, I had reported on this January the 10th, sometime in January, that Iran had demanded for American troops to leave Iraq. And I said, that's peculiar for Iran to have anything to say about what America does and American troops do and how they're, in Iraq. Like, how dare them to say that? So I showed you the article, and I'm going to bring it up for you to see it here. And I will also put these articles in the description section for you to see. Here it says Iran's Supreme Leader Khamenei calls for expulsion of United States forces during Iraq's prime minister's visit. I said, then in January, it's like, that's peculiar. How can someone from another country, Iran, tell American troops to leave Iraq unless Iran is controlling Iraq? This was just last month. In a high-stakes meeting in Tehran, Iran's Supreme Leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, called for the removal of United States forces from Iraq, and they described their presence as illegitimate. Our presence, American troops' presence, as illegitimate and as a threat to Iraqi sovereignty. Interesting. Ali Khamenei's comments were made during talks with Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani on that Wednesday in January of 2025, and it sparked fresh concerns over escalating tensions in the region. So I'm bringing that up about how Iran has said American troops need to leave Iraq because now they've pushed back. They've changed their mind all of a sudden. But during that time when Iran was calling for American troops to leave Iraq, the articles highlighted that there were diverging perspectives on Americans and American troops being there in Iraq. Let's see, what were those diverging perspectives? From Iran's point of view, they viewed American troops on Iraqi soil as occupiers. That was from Iran's perspective. On the other hand, the Iraqi government viewed America's role and their troops there in Iraq as advisory, advising Iraq how to move forward with their government, how to move forward with their economic system, how to move forward with their currency. Because when al-Sudani came to power in Iraq on October of 2022, he actually did a press conference and he said, we had endemic corruption in Iraq. He said the Iraqi government before me didn't care about the people, but we tend not to do that on my watch. Now, whether he was telling the truth or not, I don't know. He said, in fact, I am fighting to 1, end endemic corruption in Iraq, 2, work with the Central Bank of Iraq to revalue the Iraqi dinar against the United States dollar, and thirdly, I'm working with other countries to return my stolen money. That was in October when he came to power. Then he did the press conference in November. After that was in 2022. You saw him making changes in his country. Then last year, you saw him coming to America. Before he came, his Treasury Department came and met with the United States Treasury Department to discuss payment platforms here. And then he came, al-Sudani, the president and prime minister of Iraq, came to meet in Washington to discuss relationships being built and reestablished between Iraq and America. And they also discussed the revaluing of the Iraqi dinar. He also discussed how he wanted America to continue to be an ally with Iraq and how they will have trade agreements with America and other exporting nations. You also saw al-Sudani make a trip to Detroit because there's a large Iraqi population in Detroit. And he met with his people and he said, hey, we're going to have a huge celebration and at the end of 2024 to celebrate the ending of ISIS, or I call it ISIL, because I don't like to decry or say anything disparagingly about the goddess Isis, also known as Aset. Okay, so Obama called them ISIL. I'll call them the terroristic group that was terrorizing Iraq, ISIL. So he said, we're going to celebrate the end of ISIL, which ended, I want to say around 2018, but we always commemorate the end of ISIL or terrorism in our country. And we're going to have a big celebration at the end of 2024. So this is what he told his Detroit, the people, his people, the Iraqi American people. And we will celebrate other things. So we paid attention to the Iraqi people celebrating in Iraq. Then there was Iraqi people celebrating in their country. And while they were celebrating the end of ISIL and that regime, the terroristic regime, something they have commemorated for many years, some people were saying that there were some rumors that they were revaluing the dinar in country. Whether that's true or not, at the time those celebrations were going on, we do not know because we don't have the sources to support those claims. However, we did see al-Sudani come here to America to talk to his people, to talk to Washington, D.C., and he made visits to Texas. From there, he spoke to American billionaires and American entrepreneurs and said, I need for you all to invest in my country, in Iraq, because we have lots of resources to exploit and we have lots of things for you to invest in so that it will help you as investors, but also help the Iraqi people and the country. So he wasn't the only one that did that. The Vietnamese president did the same thing, asked American entrepreneurs to invest in Vietnam, and Venezuela did the same thing, ask American entrepreneurs to invest in Venezuela. So if you have Iraqi dinar, Vietnamese dong, or Venezuelan currencies, the Bolivar, please know that their presidents have asked American billionaires and American entrepreneurs to invest in their country. And they've all met in Washington to ensure that payment platforms are in place, that we're allies with them, and that things are in place for a revaluation and reinstatement of their currencies. So we talked about how Iran had demanded Iraq to withdraw from, Iran had demanded for American troops to withdraw from Iraq. But President Trump said that wasn't happening. And he said that a long time ago. In fact, he's even said that 5 years ago, we're not going anywhere. And we haven't left. Okay. I'm going to show you in a minute how we see that Iran is changing their mind and now backing up on their demands for us to leave. But just in case you haven't seen this, we don't have to show this again, but I want to bring to your remembrance that when President Trump was speaking on what's going on with Soleimani, he spoke about South Korea? Yes, South Korea, how we were supporting South Korea and we were backing them there. And he talked about how we were supporting Saudi Arabia, or was it Afghanistan, different countries in the Middle East. And he talked about how we were supporting Iraq. This particular Fox interviewer said Iraqi troops Iraqi people are asking for American troops to leave Iraq. And Trump said, they might say that to you in public, but they haven't said that to me. He said they say one thing in public, but they say something completely different in private. He said in private, they've asked us to be there, and we're not withdrawing from Iraq. And she said, what you think you did that big and bold enough where you can make them keep the troops, American troops in your country? And he said, not only are we not going anywhere, we're going to stay there, they're going to pay us for it. She said, how are you going to make them pay you? He said, we already made South Korea pay us $500 million. And we made, was it Afghanistan or Saudi Arabia? I'll get to it. Maybe it's Saudi Arabia pay us $1 billion. And she said, oh, so you're going to make Iraq pay you? He said, we already have 35 billion of their currency in our banks right now. All right. So put a 1 in the chat if you want to hear it, this video of him saying that. And if you want to just move on, put a 2 in the chat. But President Trump is on fire. I want to get a consensus. Do you want to hear him say we have Iraqi dinar sitting in our banks, or have you heard it enough? So if we have new people here and you haven't heard it, I will just put it in the chat for you. Okay. Okay. I see some people saying they do want to hear it. All right. Okay. All right. Right. Is this something about hearing your president say, we're not going anywhere? Right. We are going to continue to support Iraq. Somebody said no. Okay. And we're going to make them pay us. Thank you in the meantime for those of you who are sending a Cash App blessing to support my work. I completely appreciate it. God bless you. Heaven smile on you is my prayer. You're supporting my work helps me to do research. I do work as a substitute school teacher, but I don't have to go every day. Because of your support, I can do research. I can talk to different prelates in different countries and read different articles, listen to different videos, and come back and report the news to you. So thank you so much for supporting my work. Here we go. Let me bring this up for you so you can hear it, and I will push it here. So if you're looking at this video on your own time, here I'm going to put it in the chat, and I'll put it in the description section for you. You want to look at the 12 minute and 31 second mark. Oh, you never heard it. Adrian's never heard it. Wow. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay. Here we go. If you're looking for it on YouTube, it's Trump reveals new details on imminent threat from Soleimani. And that was posted 5 years ago. It has 2.4 million views.
Has notified Mike Pompeo about potential plans, drawing up plans for a U.S. troop withdrawal from Iraq, period. You ran on pulling out of the Middle East. Why not use this opportunity to say, we're done?
I'm okay with it. By the way,
you're okay with removing our troops from Iraq?
That's what they say publicly. They don't say that privately.
You see, they say one thing in private, but another thing in public.
Because if we leave, that means they're not going to be able to handle it. Why not leave? I'm not so bad with it. When I heard that, I said, I have it down to 5,000 troops. We had many, many troops there in Iraq. And we're there only in a training. We train them. But if they'd want us to leave, but they speak different publicly than they do privately.
But aren't we sending more troops to the region as we speak?
We're sending more to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is paying us for it.
See, people have to pay us for our protection.
We're doing something that nobody's ever done. I said to Saudi Arabia, we have a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia. I said, listen, you're a very rich country. You want more troops? I'm going to send them to you, but you've got to pay us. They're paying us. They've already deposited $1 billion in the bank. We are going to help them, but these rich countries have to pay for it. South Korea gave us $500 million. They never gave us it. They gave us $500 million. I said, you got to help us along. We have 32,000 soldiers in South Korea protecting you from North Korea.
South Korea had to pay us $500 million. Now, the reason why I have to pause is because if I keep playing it straight through, I can get flagged on YouTube. South Korea paid us $500 million, and he's going to tell you how Saudi Arabia had to pay us $1 billion.
You've got to pay. And they gave us $500 million. I mean, you sort of have breaking news because nobody wants to report that stuff. I'm not sure anybody knows it. I might be sort of saying it. You have some, I mean, it's good stuff. But they're a wealthy country. They build all your television sets. They took that away from us. They build the ships. They build a lot of things. I said, look, we're protecting you. You got to pay. They paid us $500 million. They're going to pay us a lot more.
Do you think that Iraq should repay the American taxpayer for these bases,
Sure.
for what we've done there?
You heard that from me.
Yeah,
okay?
I know. Will we?
I said we built one of the world's most expensive airport facilities anywhere in the world. I mean, I wish we had it in New York. I wish we had it in Washington. We built runways that are 15,000 feet long. At LaGuardia, they're 7,000 feet long. In fact, I think they're 20,000 feet long over there, and deep, thick concrete and steel. Nobody ever built runways like this. Okay, it was way overbuilt, but that's okay. But we have billions of dollars into that. I said, if we leave, you got to pay us. If we leave, you have to pay us for embassies. You have to pay us for the money we put in.
How are you going to collect?
Well, we have a lot of their money right now. We have a lot of their money. We have $35 billion of their money right now sitting in an account. And I think they'll agree to pay. They'll agree to pay. Otherwise, we'll stay there.
$35 billion of their money, Iraqi dinar, in our account right now. He said, I think they'll agree to pay. Okay. All of these rich oil nations have money. If they want our support, they have to pay up. So for people that are saying, that we need to withdraw, they asked for us to be there, according to President Trump, in private. And I showed you the article that talked about how Iraq saw our being there as being advisory, whereas Iran saw it as being oppositional. Keep checking in, family. Let us know what you think about this. So let me show you exactly. Let's see that, because what I showed you was the article where Iran was demanding troops to leave, but I'm going to show you the exact words where Iraq said we were there, us being there was advisory, because I think I just told you that and I didn't show you that in the article word for word. However, all of this will be in the description section. Yes, Melissa said, I love that man. Oh, he is taking care of business. Right. All of this news is great. What Melissa say? We're losing our kids' dads, uncles, aunts, and cousin. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Let's pray for our family, our soul family. People are going through so much. So Iraq saw our participation there, our troops being there, as advisory. And so here you go. It says diverging perspectives. Khomeini's remarks come as Iraq navigates a precarious balancing act between fostering relationships with Iran and maintaining ties with the United States, which retains troops in the country of Iraq under the banner of advisory support. Thank you so much for sending Cash App blessing. Iran views the Americans as occupiers, while the Iraqi government officially declares that Americans' presence is advisory, or they're playing an advisory role. Iraqi political and security analyst Ghani Ghaliban said to the New Arab publication, there is a planned withdrawal of United States forces from Iraq, with all parties committed to a schedule. However, Iran continued to push for immediate and complete removal. That was in January. This article was actually published January the 10th, 2025. But it seems like Iran has had a change of heart. Don says, Iran wants us out so they can attack Iraq again. I agree with that. Wow. Right. So, but it seems like Iran has had a change of heart. Let's see. I have an article here. Let me see what this article says. That that the United States forces will remain in Iraq. Trump is not playing with these people. He don't care what they want. We're not going anywhere until the job is done. Let me see if I can find that article. U.S. forces will remain in Iraq. Here we go. United States forces will stay. Talks are about transition to bilateral security ties. This big international coalition, according to this article, with all the flags that will end, but the presence of and the partnership with international military forces will continue. In Kyrgyzstan, this report says, based out of Washington, United States, Kyrgyzstan, says despite multiple media reports claiming that the United States troops would soon be leaving Iraq, Colonel Miles Kagan, a former spokesperson for the anti-ISIS or ISIL coalition and now spokesperson for the Association of the Petroleum Industry of Kurdistan, explained why he believes the claim is quite wrong and why United States troops will likely remain in Iraq, including in the Kurdistan region for some years to come. They ask that you continue to read. You can read about talks with Iraq on a transition from coalition to bilateral security relationships. Kagan's remarks are also consistent with what the Pentagon Press Secretary Major General Patrick has to say, Patrick Ryder. In essence, the article says the basis for the pressure of foreign forces in Iraq is changing from a multilateral structure based in the coalition against ISIL to bilateral structures based on direct understanding between Baghdad and the various foreign countries with troops in Iraq. This is a crucial issue for the Kurds, as the long-standing Kurdish leader, Musa Barzani, now head of the Kurdistan Democratic Party, has stressed, including in meetings with United States officials, a continued United States military presence in Iraq, and that this is vital for ensuring the stability and promoting its national interests. We're not going anywhere. And as you heard Trump say, they're going to pay. Speaking of Iraq, so no matter what Iran had to say, United States troops are remaining in Iraq. I wanted to show you how Iran has changed their mind. Here it is. This article says Iran-backed parties in Iraq are reversing their push for United States troops withdrawal. Okay. Iran has lost control of Iraq. It seems Baghdad has come around to the Kurdish view that the continued presence of coalition forces is important to Iraq's stability. And they keep talking about Iraq's stability because one of the things that the Iranian supreme leader was saying is that our presence, American troops' presence in Iraq, is compromising Iraq's stability and their sovereignty. And the reason why Iran was saying that is because they wanted to maintain control and they wanted to strike at Iraq, which one of our supporters, Soul Family members, said in the comments section. This was February the 1st that this article was published out of Washington, D.C. It says the United States pro-Iranian political groups in Iraq have withdrawn their demand that United States forces leave Iraq, according to a report out of Baghdad on Friday by the Associated Press. Those groups now favor a continued United States military presence in the country, it said. Woo! People are relenting. Not only did Trudeau say, okay, Trump, I know you said that you were putting tariffs on us here in Canada and I had to secure the border and I can allow Intanol, the drugs to come into your country. And I said I was going to clap back and put tariffs on your country, but I changed my mind. The Mexican drug cartel was shooting at United States military and border control when the United States National Guard were trying to prevent illegal crossings over the border. And we fired right back at the drug cartel, and the Mexican drug cartel said, I I'm going to stop it. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I just lost my mind temporarily. And now we see Iran doing the same thing. They're backing down and withdrawing their demand. You are not going to bully President Donald Trump or Earth Alliance or our military, okay? Because their time is up. No more will you be allowed to run roughshod all over the world. Now, in case you haven't seen my report that I did on Iraq, one of my last reports that I did about Iraq, I think it's a good idea to bring that up because I have a lot of points there that lets you see how free Iraq has indeed become and how they're making changes. Okay, let me show you this podcast that I need you to see. You can go to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel, and you can just go to rumble.com or youtube.com, type in Dr. Kia Pruitt. Make sure you got the right channel because there are a lot of imposters that are using my name. And once you get to my page or my account on YouTube or Rumble, just type in Iraq and you'll see all of my reports on Iraq. So this is what my YouTube channel looks like now. I've had 7 or 8 of them. Every time my channel starts to grow to pass a certain number and make a certain amount of money, they cut me off. There have been times they cut me off in the middle of my sentences. Doesn't matter what, if I'm talking about President Trump, they cut me off. I'm talking about gold. This is before all the other, a lot of other people were talking about gold because mainstream media wasn't covering it. They were still viewing gold as a commodity or a collector's item instead of viewing gold as money, lawful money. So I would be talking about gold. They would cut me off. I've had 7 or 8 channels to just disappear on YouTube, and they kept my money. They owe me thousands of dollars that they have not paid me. But we keep pressing forward. And even I've had even problems on Rumble where it took them months to pay me, or they wouldn't allow me to connect Rumble to my streaming sources, or I had problems connecting. And I'm not the only person saying that. There were people on Twitter saying the same thing, that they were having problems with Rumble. I've also had issues with Twitter, which is supposed to be owned by Elon Musk, but they told me I'm not allowed to be monetized, and neither can I appeal ever. TikTok has banned me forever. Many times I had to create new accounts, but we're still pressing forward. So this is what my YouTube channel looks like. Look, you want to look at this report here that says great news. Banks are ready for currency exchanges, because I tell you here that banks met globally last summer to make sure they were prepared for currency exchanges and to receive foreign assets, also known as foreign reserves. In this podcast here, I tell you that foreign reserves are foreign currencies. Banks met globally to make sure they were ready to receive foreign currencies. And they said the reason why they needed foreign currencies is because this is one of the this was a tier 2 asset that all banks had to have. According to Basel III compliances, banks had to be Basel compliant. They had to have gold and recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, meaning they had to recognize gold as money, and they had to have foreign reserves. In that podcast, I did a deep dive into what are foreign reserves, and I showed you articles that outline that foreign reserves are the same as foreign currencies. The podcast shows that the reason why banks had to be Basel compliant is because they needed these 2 tiers of assets to ensure the health of the banks, which will be changed to wealth management centers, and to ensure that banks will not go bankrupt. That was an excellent podcast. Please catch that. Okay. Notice that they said foreign reserves. Foreign reserves is also what Trump said he has made sure that is put in the sovereign wealth fund. Gold, foreign reserves, stocks, bonds, and other assets. So pay attention to this podcast. It's very, very good. That is on the video section. So you see Dr. Kia Pruitt at Dr. Dr. Kia Pruitt Official, at Dr. Kia Pruitt Official. Right now I have 9,072 subscribers, but about 300,000 people have viewed my channel within the last 28 days. So please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and send the channel to your friends and family members. So that's the video section. I have other videos here that you really need to pay attention to. as well as motu proprio, where the Pope told us all this was going to happen. The deep dive of the destruction of the deep state and other things. Other talks about America being restored as a republic here and here. So make sure you pay attention to those videos. And then I want you to go to the live section, because once you type in Iraq, go to the search bar here, you'll see this is where we are right here. We have 528 people on the YouTube channel watching now. And then there should be here, this podcast about Iraq. And then there's one here. But this one, Explosive Iraq News, is very good. I'm going to click on that, because in that article, that podcast, make sure you go to the description section. I'll show you articles that actually support my claim that Iraq is free and they're moving in the right direction towards revaluing the dinar and reinstating the dinar to its pre-war value. Now, the pre-war value was a little over $3, okay? But when you account for inflation, that actually equates to $16 to about $36 in terms of the exchange rate. And some people say it will be even higher, because you have to take into consideration the gold standard, how all countries have repatriated their gold back from the Vatican to them, and how they're all now using gold, palladium, platinum, rare earth minerals, and all the resources, oil, to back their currency. So the rate could be even higher than $3 or $16 to $36. Okay. In this report, I showed you how Iran's leader was calling for the expulsion of American troops. Let me make sure you can see that. I'll make it bigger for you. I showed you Trump's video as well that we just showed you just now. I don't think I can make that bigger. Let's see. I talked about how al-Sudani, Iraqi leader, visits not only the United States, but they also visit the UK, and they visited the UK to establish agreements and also to ask their entrepreneurs to invest in Iraq. And they also met with the UK to talk about payment platforms. Let's see what else. Here, I say that Iraq faces economic collapse if they don't implement economic reforms, and they're doing just that. They say if they don't implement economic reforms and reinstate their currency now, the country will face economic collapse. So in that deep dive, I show you how not only could they face economic collapse, but they said we're implementing reforms right now, okay, and revaluing our currency. We showed you how Saudi Arabia and Iraq signed agreements linking their power grids together. We showed you how Iraq is on the verge of economic security, stability, and prosperity, as well as some other things. So Iraq is on the move. Thank you for 1,000 people being in the chat. If you are enjoying this podcast, family, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and send it to somebody. Here is the article that says Iraq is on the verge of economic stability. We had to, how did we do this? We took this and translated it, but I can't remember how we did that. Let's see, I'm gonna try it again. Let me refresh it and see if I can find a tab that says transcribe this into English. Oh, okay, it pops up on my computer. And here we go. I said, yes, I wanted to transcribe it, and my computer transcribed it. Thank you, AI. I know a lot of people are afraid of AI and saying, oh no, President Trump is investing billions of dollars in AI. But I think people just don't understand and understand that the traffic light is AI. You have computers running all type of systems when you check out at Walmart. A lot of people don't even go through the lines where you have people, you know, that will check you out. We'd rather, many of us, for convenience sake, would rather go to the self-checkout. The traffic eye is AI. You got self-checkout. You got robots running everything. You got robots now in restaurants taking orders, like literal robots that will come to you and take orders. I saw that at the airport. You see robots sweeping the airports and cleaning the airport floors. You have all type of AI and robotic systems running everything. But I say, hey, if you want to move towards a Jetsons, remember the cartoon, the Jetsons era, where things will be running automatically, That's what you have to do. And it doesn't concern people that know that we are moving to a very wealthy era where everybody will be wealthy in America and abroad through NESARA GESARA, through people investing in depreciated assets, people investing in foreign currencies, people receiving money back from their trust that was created and attached to their birth certificate bond, people now turning in their driver's license, marriage licenses, and all type of licenses that were actually securitized and accruing money. When the old system is completely dismantled, you will receive that money back. The money that you receive money from those licenses, you receive all the money you paid to the mortgage, money you paid in rent, money you paid for utilities, all that's coming back to you. And with NESARA GESARA benefits, you'll have trillions of dollars injected into the global economy, and some of that money will kind of function like a universal income, like what you see happening in Qatar and some of the oil-rich nations, where they actually give people money in their accounts. The people in Qatar and other oil-rich nations are actually living wealthily. They hire Nigerians and Africans to work as their servant class for them. And I'm not saying that's good or bad, because people go to their country for opportunities. But the people there are wealthy because of this so-called universal basic income. So everybody will receive an income here in America. That's a component of NESARA, and abroad. As a matter of fact, you saw the Guyana in South America, the president saying that he was giving every adult $100,000 as long as you were 18 and older, and you could prove your nationality, but you had to provide proof of your nationality, and you had to be in country. So he said, if you're a Guyanan national and you're abroad, you can get your money. You just have to be in the country and present your proof of identity as a Guyanan national. So this was the precursor, 100,000 for every citizen 18 or above. Some articles actually say every national, okay? This article says 18 above, some articles say 21 and above. $100,000 grant, one-time payment for now, and they might give them more. I'll put that in the description section for any of you that want to see that as well. We also had in Richmond, California, when I lived there in 2018, there was an African-American mayor that was giving out money to, was it Richmond? No, I don't think it was Richmond. It was a small town right outside of Sacramento, California. He was giving every person in his city, it was a mayor, money, a grant. And he said he was doing this as an experiment. I don't know if y'all remember, it's an African-American mayor. It didn't make mainstream news like globally, but there were some articles that came out about it. Just a lot of people didn't know about it, except for people in that small town. Was it Eureka? I can't remember what city that was, but I did report on it. So you see that this is being implemented on a small scale, and it will happen on a large scale as well. Let me see where I was going with this. Oh, let's talk about Iraq again. Here, I was looking at this article that we had transcribed, or we had translated into English using AI. Oh my gosh, it did it again. So let me refresh and see if my computer will allow me to translate it. Yep. Al-Mashhadani. Iraq enjoys stability, is on the verge of economic prosperity, and has returned to its influential role in the region. Okay, I'll leave that in the description section for you to read at your leisure. I just wanted to show you that because I don't want to keep, your time. But Al-Mashhadani said in a televised interview on the channel there in Iraq that there are important laws that need to be voted on, most of which are not controversial, including personal status and general amnesty. He added that the Zionist entity that was in Iraq was leading Gaza into a war of extermination. Oh, okay. And he talks about that how they had feared an Islamic Spring due to abandoning Gaza and not stopping the unaliving there, indicating that there is a wound in Gaza that wouldn't heal. He pointed out the coordination between the countries of the region, how it was required regarding Syria to prevent chaos, stressing the need for communications with the new Syrian leader through the government. But the article dives deep into how Iraq is now enjoying stability and they're on the verge of economic prosperity. Now they are a leader and playing an influential role in the entire Middle Eastern region. Very good to know as we look forward to the Iraqi dinar being reinstated back to its lawful pre-war value. So it does appear that Iraq is now free and they're enjoying economic stability. Somebody asked me if Iraq will use XRP, and there are some reports that say they will. I haven't seen any official reports, although I'm hearing that, like in the underground journalistic circles. But as it relates to XRP, somebody in the comment section asked me, do banks have to be XRP compliant? To that, I say, yes, they do. So what I did was I actually Googled it. Do banks have to be compliant with XRP? Somebody says, we are on the verge. We are on a large scale. So here we go. Will banks have to be compliant with XRP? Good question. Somebody that asked that in the comment section. We know that a couple things about banks here in America. We know that we're going to get back to banks in Iraq as well. But here in America, we know that the Supreme Court of the United States decided that this summer that state-sponsored banks could now operate independently from the central banking system of the Federal Reserve. They can have their own charter, they can have their own rules, and operate completely independent of the Federal Reserve central banking system and issue out their own gold-backed currencies. Okay, so that's really good. State-sponsored banks, now that they can issue out gold-backed currencies, because we know that's good because the Federal Reserve central banking system had classified gold as a commodity. But banks, remember, have to recognize gold as a tier 1 asset, meaning that banks have to recognize gold as money in compliance with the Constitution for our republic. Can you see that the republic is being returned and restored back to the people here in America and abroad? So let's look. I Googled, do banks must be compliant for XRP? And I asked, do banks have to be compliant? AI says, yes, banks must comply with regulations to use XRP, a cryptocurrency. When they say cryptocurrency, that just means a digital asset created by Ripple. Compliance with these regulations can be costly and time consuming. Why banks must comply with regulations? Because of the regulatory landscape. The regulatory landscape for digital assets or cryptocurrencies varies by countries. Okay, then they talk about compliancy rules and how startups that integrate blockchain technology must comply with KYC and AML requirements. And I saw an article that said that Iraq was using blockchain technology. I'll see if I can find that and put it in the description section. It goes on to talk about legal challenges, the benefits of XRP for banks in terms of cross-border transactions and how XRP can be used as a bridge currency to execute cross-border transactions more efficiently. Reduce costs. XRP can reduce transaction costs and settlement times, enhance transparency and security because blockchain technology ensures that each transaction is immutably recorded. It also talks about factors that may impact XRP adoption. Regulatory issues can impact the growth of XRP. There are clear regulatory frameworks, and that the absence of clear regulatory frameworks can stifle innovation. And it talks about trust. Legal challenges can raise questions about trust in XRP. This was generated by AI using or going through all the articles on banks' compliances with XRP. So there you have it for the person that asked, do banks have to be compliant with XRP? The answer, according to what we just saw, is yes. Now let's talk about banking in Iraq, and we'll get ready to wrap this up. In Iraq, the Iraqi government has launched comprehensive banking reforms for the Central Bank of Iraq and the banks in Iraq. I'll bring up that article, but there are 4 key pillars in that article. They discuss banking governance, number 1. Number 2, they discuss service standards. Thirdly, they discuss financial resilience. And fourthly, they discuss international compliance. As it relates to banking governance, they say that they must ensure banking transparency. As it relates to service standards, the article says that the banks must expand access to financial services. As it relates to the third bullet, financial resistance, they say they must implement robust capital and liquidity requirements to protect customers' deposits. And as it relates to international compliance, the banks must align with global standards in anti-money laundering. So let me show you that here. We're talking about Iraq. Iraq is doing a phenomenal job of making sure that their banks are safe and in compliance with regulations worldwide, with global regulations. Here you have it. This was published by Iraqi Business News, IraqBusinessNews.com. The Iraqi government, in collaboration with the Central Bank of Iraq, has launched a strategic initiative to modernize the country's banking sector. The reforms aim to enhance banking standards, to strengthen financial resilience, and improve Iraq's integration with global financial systems. And again, here are your key pillars that we just talked about: governance and ownership. They will strengthen transparency through diversified ownership structures and independent board oversight. What about service standards? They will expand access to financial service and modernizing banking infrastructure. As it relates to international compliances, they will align their banks with global standards in anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing and financial transparency. And as it relates to financial resilience of the banks, they must implement robust capital and liquidity requirements to protect the customer's deposits and ensure economic stability. And I just showed you the article that said that Iraq was on the verge of economic stability. So this initiative is part of a broader strategy developed by the Central Bank of Iraq in partnership with global consulting from Oliver Wyman. Reforms in state-owned banks will complement this strategy, marking a major transformation in Iraq's financial sector. Further implementation details will be announced in due course at due timing. And this article was just published. I just received this actually from Iraqi Business News because I am a subscriber. And when I tell you I am updated on Iraq several times a month, even with this publication, with the Iraqi Business News publication that I just received yesterday, I have probably about 10 to 15 articles, but I'm not going to cover all that today. So much is happening in Iraq that's going to be good for the country and therefore good for the world. One of the things that I do want to cover that I saw in Iraqi Business News is that Iraq signed an agreement for $800 million Iraqi refinery expansion project. That's the final thing we'll say about Iraq, and then we'll answer some questions. Hi, Sister Tamika. Hello, lovely goddess. She says, hey, sister. Yes, I caught you live again, Dr. Pruitt. This is great news to hear. Oh, thank you so much. Sister Melissa says, I am a blessing. Wow, I appreciate you. Joy says Iraq banned crypto a long time ago, but Iraq has had to catch up with the times. They'll have to use digital assets because the world is using digital assets. Thank you for that. Let's see what this last article says about Iraq. We've been on for 1 hour, 19 minutes. I don't want to keep you on too much longer. Thank you for sending the Cash App blessing, family. I appreciate you so much for supporting my work. Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sudani has overseen the signing of an $800 million contract for the expansion of al-Duwani refinery, adding a 70,000 barrel per day atmospheric distillation unit to raise total capacity to 90,000 BPDs. The project includes hydrocracking, gasoline upgrading, isomerization, and environmental compliance measures. When you have these sorts of projects in your own country, you don't have to depend on anybody else. No one else's oil, no one else's products, no one else's resources. You can take care of your own nation, your own country, your own people, and grow your own gross domestic product or your GDP. The initiative aims to modernize Iraq's refining sector, improve product quality, and support industrial needs. It will also facilitate the Al-Shanafaya power plant, secure petroleum production, and generate employment for the Iraqi people. Good news to all of our Iraqi friends and family members. Work is set to begin within days with funding secure. So the tenets of this article are production enhancements. It'll talk about that. The article also talks about energy and utilities, as well as storage and logistics. And I will gladly leave that in the description section for you. So it has been my great pleasure to bring this great news that Iraq is free and they're on the verge of economic stability and prosperity. We also reported how Iran is now standing down and they're no longer demanding for United States troops to leave or withdraw from Iraq because we weren't doing it anyway. And as a matter of fact, now Iraq cannot control their financial system, and Iran can no longer control the financial system. And Iraq, per President Trump's executive order, and the Treasury Department here in America is overseeing all of that. We also showed you how President Trump said we're not withdrawing from Iraq until the job is done. We have, he said, created infrastructure there. We've built up their airports that rival anything. I mean, it's better than anything that we have here in America. He said, I wish we had what we did there in Iraq, here in America, here in DC, here in New York, but we don't. We've supported Iraq, he said. We've protected Iraq, and they're going to pay us. When the Fox News reporter asked, how are you going to make them pay? So we're going to make Iraq pay us because they're rich, they're an oil-rich nation, just like we made Saudi Arabia pay us $1 billion. We have $1 billion of their dollars. Just like we made South Korea pay us when we protected them against North Korea, and we made them pay us $500 million. So in alignment with all of that, Iraq has to pay us. And so she said, how are you going to make them pay? How are you going to make them pay? Speaking of the Fox News reporter, he said, they've already paid us $35 billion. And we have $35 billion of their dollars sitting in our banks right now. So that was a comprehensive report of what's going on in Iraq. And we also just did a wrap up of our earlier podcast about what's going on in America with the tariffs, how people are saying uncle and agreeing to President Donald Trump, the Don, how he is the greatest negotiator in the world. Remember, he wrote the book, The Art of the Deal. We talked about how President Trump exposed where all of our tax dollars were going with United States aid, U.S. aid, okay, and how President Trump has directed all U.S. aid direct hire personnel to be put on administrative leave globally. I reported that, but I didn't show you that. So let me show you this straight from the United States Aid website, unitedstatesaid.gov. On February 7th, 2025, all U.S. aid direct hire personnel will be placed on administrative leave globally, with the exception of designated personnel responsible for mission critical functions, core leadership, and specially designed programs. Essential personnel expected to continue working will be informed by agency leadership by today, Thursday, February the 6th. So not only did he say that they're on administrative leave, but he also called for U.S. aid workers to come back home. Okay. All this money that was going out to all these different countries has to stop because we're taking care of America first and we're making America great again. We also discussed, how some of the immigrants that are here, they're not here lawfully, are marching, taking to the streets, doing some peaceful protests, but some people have been caught on camera desecrating the United States flag, and how we're sure President Trump is going to put a stop to all of that. So family, my encouragement for you all is to keep your vibrations high, stay encouraged, and know, not think, not believe, but as much as you can muster up the faith, you have to know that the military, the Earth Alliance, President Trump, and anybody helping like the Nasara White Knights and the White Hats of the military are working to liberate not only us here in America, but people abroad. Somebody asked, what about Zimbabwe? Not long ago, I reported that Zimbabwe actually joined BRICS. So if Zimbabwe joined BRICS, then you know that Zimbabwe is in compliance and in agreement with leaving United States dollar and using gold for trade. We also know that Zimbabwe minted coins, gold coins, and they created gold-backed currency that they call the Zim Gold. So that's what we know about Zimbabwe right now. I don't know any other news about Zimbabwe. Will their currency revalue? Of course. And whenever it's time, you will be able to redeem the Zim bonds, because as you know, the Zim bond is a government bond. It's on bond paper. At the top left-hand corner, it says, this is a promise to pay the bearer upon demand. So Zimbabwe will, in fact, revalue their currencies and their bonds will be able to be redeemed. Ninth Child said, I received a debt cancellation letter today from Credit Acceptance. Yay! I was going to report on that tomorrow. That's wonderful news. A wonderful, wonderful news. Let me see if I can find you something about that. Let's see. Congratulations. Let's see. Debt collectors were put on notice. Let me see if I can find the article. They were put on notice, but let me show you the FTC debt collectors list. Oh, here it is. Here is a post that was on Twitter here that said that debt collectors were put on notice. Thank you for bringing that up. Let me see. I don't know if you follow this person here by the name of Whiplash on X, and he has a Telegram page, but he says debt collectors were put on notice. FTC banned the collectors, banned debt collectors. And I have a list. The Federal Trade Commission banned debt collectors. Let me see if I can find that list though. Thank you again, Knife Child. Knife Child says, I received a debt cancellation letter from Credit Acceptance. That's a part of NESARA, the elimination of debt. And I do have podcasts on NESARA, what those tenets are and how cancellation of debts is one of the tenets. Let me see if I had an article. Let me see. What is this here? Yep, ban debt collectors. I do have a list. I'll cover this in detail on tomorrow. Thank you again, Knife Child. Here is a list, and I'll put this in the description section for you all. Y'all know how I do. I support my claims, and I give you the information. If this information has been good, if you've enjoyed the podcast, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to support my work, feel free to send a Cash App at $MamaKia13, $MAMAKIA 13. Look at this. Ban debt collectors. The companies and people listed below are banned by federal court orders from participating in the business of debt collection. You can click view case for information about the lawsuit that resulted in this ban. I'll go over the lawsuit tomorrow, including press releases and links to legal complaints. Click view order in order to see federal court orders that permanently prohibits the person and or companies from participating in debt collection. Yes, President Trump is on a roll. Here is a list: individuals and companies. You can view the cases and the orders. 4-Star Resolution, CP LLC, CP Management Corporations, 10D Holdings Incorporated, Absolute Financial Services, Absolute Financial Service Recovery, Advanced Mediation Group, AFSR Global Logistics, Alliance Law Group, American Check Processing, Inc., American Credit Adjusters LLC, American Credit Crunchers, American Mutual Holdings, Andre Keith Sanders, Andrew Chevelle, Angela Burdoff, Angela Trippett, Ankh Ali, Anthony Capola, Army WNY, Apex National Services LLC, Ashton Assets, Ashton Capital, Audubon Financial, Aziza Ali, BAM Financial, Barry Sussman, and it goes on and on. All the B's, all the C's, it goes in alphabetical order, family. These companies are banned and prohibited from collecting on debts. Isn't this amazing? I was going to wait till tomorrow to showcase that. We'll go into deep detail tomorrow, family, and you will see how we are indeed in the golden era, and we have entered NESARA and GESARA, the National Economic Security Reformation Act, and the global version of that, the Global Economic Reformation and Security Act. Ella says, thank you for keeping us informed. It is my great pleasure. Our moderator, Love Being Nubian, says, Doc, please let us know when we can trade the Iraqi dinar and the Vietnamese dong on the next video. Absolutely. Now, I don't have a date per se because no reporters, no independent journals have high enough clearance to know dates. So people should not be giving exact dates, but I can tell you how to look for certain cues because this is event driven. You know that before we exchange currencies, you have to have a critical mass number of deep state operatives taken down and decimated. They have to be sent to Guantanamo Bay and judged, because if we exchange before we obliterated the deep state or got enough people out, then these people will steal our money and re-empower themselves. Luckily or fortunately, we have the quantum financial system in place. So now with the quantum financial system, everybody has a quantum financial system account already. The banks are already compliant and they have moved from the SWIFT system. It's not completely done, but it's in the works, to the quantum financial system. Everything will be monitored and it's sensory. It is energy sensory driven, so that this system can only detect your energy in order to access your account. Again, it's monitored so that any transactions that we do have to be, benevolent transactions. It can't be laundering of Ildren Tray, of laundering of Anime, or laundering of Dre's. We're talking pig Latin. Because if that happens, then your money will be frozen, your assets will be frozen. So with the quantum financial system in place, we can see that the SWIFT system has indeed been dismantled, or at least changed over to the QFS. We also see when you go to resignation.info, a lot of people have been forced to resign, or they've been fired, or they were forced to retire. And many of those people that's on that list are banking CEOs and prime ministers of different countries. So you want to look at resignation.info, notable resignations of more than 14,000 people. 14,000 resignations of about 14,000 people and 9,989 organizations within 171 countries. But this list even is outdated and need to be updated because this list came out in 2023. So you'll see World Bank here, the president of World Bank, South African president of the government of South Africa, the old YouTube LLC CEO, who was replaced, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. You'll see the government of Maldiva's prime minister here, prime minister of New Zealand, Netflix CEO, the government of Vietnam, the president stepped down. In fact, the whole administration of Vietnam was replaced. Who else? The defense minister of Germany, and the list goes on and on. Oh, I see Benjamin Netanyahu on here. Ooh, Kwesi, Natalia. So with this list, you can see that a lot of people have been forced to resign. Okay, that's good news. You see that a lot of people have been forced to step down. So not just here in America, but all over the world. So maybe a critical mass amount of people have been dealt with. And so that will lead to us going to the banks to exchange our currency. So it looks like it's going to be really, really close, family. It looks like we're going to be really, really close. Somebody says, Dr. Kia, you are a, what's that? What's the hands up? Thanks. Thank you, Bernard's expression. That's so kind of you to say. Wow, congratulations, Tamika says, to ninth child. Congratulations. That's nothing but favor from our creator. And the rest of you will receive some type of notification too that your debts have been canceled. You're welcome, ninth child. Thank you for sharing that. Love Being Nubian wants to know if you signed up for something. I bet you she says no. Thank you for removing the veil of deception, MW says. You're welcome. A ninth child said, no, I had a car in 2018. I lost a job and I just stopped paying them. Okay, I heard that, ninth child. And you know that there was an article, a couple articles that came out last year that said that the automobile industry collapse had begun because people couldn't afford to pay their automobile loans. So they had to cancel them. They had to write, these lenders had to write off the debt. And then when these lenders would try to send out people to repossess the cars, they realized they didn't have enough workers to repossess the cars. So they just put out a notice that the automobile collapse had begun. Melissa said, I just stopped paying too. Thank you all for supporting our wonderful Dr. Kia family. We appreciate you. Thank you, Love Being Nubian. I love you so much. Sheila wants to know, do we know any information about the Vietnamese dong revaluing? What I was told is that all of the currencies would actually revalue at the same time. So a lot of them are revaluing or being reinstated back to their lawful value. And we know this is happening because all the countries have repatriated their gold back from the Vatican. Countries have stated that they're mining gold. They are working with each other, forming alliances, whether they join the BRICS coalition, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition, or the Shanghai Corporation. Many of the different countries have formed alliances and allegiances with one another to stop trading with the United States dollar in order to destroy the central banking system. And they've decided to use gold for trade and use their own local currencies. That's something that Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, actually initiated after he went to Ukraine and exposed all of the laundering that was going on there in order to bring Ukraine back under the auspices of the Soviet Union. Exposing that upset number 46. Number 46 put sanctions on Vladimir Putin, and he clapped back by saying, I'm not afraid of you. I'll just use my own currency. I don't need the dollar. I don't need your sanctions. I'll use my own Russian ruble for exchanges and to do trade. And that's why the Russian ruble in 2022 was the strongest performing currency in the world. And then he inspired the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition, because he's from Russia. You see Russia and BRICS to do the same, to stop trading with the dollar and first use the Russian ruble. And then he said, hey, I do you one better. Use your own local currencies for trade. So with all that happening with the Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa coalition and the Shanghai Corporation agreeing to use their own global currencies backed by gold, we can see that they all are ready to revalue their currencies or reinstate their currencies back to its normal lawful level. So this is why I've been told that all the currencies will actually revalue at the same time, because it's happening right now. We see a global currency reset happening. At the end of every empire, they print up as much money as they can. They rack up the debt. They buy themselves resources, okay, and then they destroy that unsustainable financial system, and they go back to a sound monetary system, namely the gold standard. That's what's happening here. That's why Janet Yellen said we've reached the debt ceiling. She did it under Biden. She did it right as Trump was taking office again as the 47th president of the United States and CEO of the United States and commander-in-chief for his second term. We got to do something quickly. We've reached the debt ceiling. We have to take extraordinary measures because they had printed so much money, racked up a lot of debt, bought themselves a lot of resources and assets, and now they have to crash the system and move towards the gold standard. It happens at the end of every empire. That's called the crack up boom. Also, at the end of many empires, you saw the gold to silver ratio be 3-1. And I learned that from someone who is actually an economist and in the gold space. This gentleman just happened to call me to ask me if I wanted to buy gold from their company. It was a big company, a well-renowned, world-renowned company. I don't even know how they got my name and number. I don't know. Maybe I subscribed or somebody put my name. I don't know. But he called me and we had a long discussion. He shared his credentials. Of course, I verified those credentials. And he said the gold to silver ratio should be 3-1. Now, when you follow Big Swear on the Road to Roota, ROADTOROOTA, you follow him and go to roadtoroota.com or follow his YouTube channel, he'll tell you that the Federal Reserve has always known that at some point they would go back to the gold standard. You got to read his works on the Road to Roota website, and he talks about in this colored book that was put out by the Federal Reserve called Wishes and Rainbows, how they talked about the government and the Federal Reserve central banking system using the United States dollar in a debt enslavement banking system to enslave the people using loans and so-called credit, all this, how they were accessing our birth certificate, how they were using that, but they knew it was unsustainable, but that there would be a benevolent faction of the Federal Reserve that will actually decimate the Federal Reserve and return us to the gold standard. Follow Road to Roota. And he tells you that the gold to silver ratio in biblical times was 3-1. That coincides with what this economist from this precious metals company said to me. I can't remember the name of that precious metals company. That the gold to silver ratio is 3-1. Right now, it's like 85-1, meaning it takes about 85 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. But they're saying it should be 3-1. And Bix Wheeler said, I'll do you one better. If you really consider how important silver is and how silver will outperform gold and how silver is used for industrial purposes, how silver will be used for solar panels, how it had been used in electric cars and regular cars, how silver is used in computers, cell phones, cars, appliances, stoves, refrigerators, microwave ovens, washing machines, dryers. Bix Wheeler says, take into account for all that and how silver is actually a byproduct of other precious metals, silver should be 1-1 to gold. And he believes silver will be 1-1 to gold. So when people ask me, what should I invest in, gold or silver? I say, I'm not a financial advisor, but if you have a lot of money or if you want to roll your retirement accounts into something, maybe gold, because you have a lot of money, you want to store it in gold. But you might also consider silver because silver is less than gold right now. And silver, again, is undervalued. Silver will be used for a plethora of things. We even have silver receptors in our brain. People take colloidal silver and colloidal gold. But silver will, according to many experts, at least go to 3-1. In the gold to silver ratio, meaning it will only take 3 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold. But in a good world or a utopia, gold and silver will be 1-1 with each other. So if you have money, like I said, if you have a lot of money and you want to pass down that wealth, that you have in retirement accounts, or big large sums of money, you want to put it in gold because gold is something that you can transfer to your posterity or future generations, go for it. If you want to put some of that in silver, go for it. Because the prices right now, they're looking pretty good. They're holding steady. But the gold price actually hit a new all-time high yesterday. It was at about $2,890, I think, and now it's $2,867 per ounce, and silver is $32.28 per ounce. So it has gone down just a little bit. So the prices are holding steady, but many economists say it's going to keep going up until we have a correction. You might consider, this is not financial advice, but getting silver since it costs less. And then when the gold to silver ratio changes and that gap closes, because it's like 85-1, 85 ounces of silver can buy 1 ounce of gold. But when it closes to 30-1 even, you can then take that silver and buy gold. Or when it closes to 3-1 or 1-1, you can take that silver. When it's 1, to 1, you can buy gold. But silver and gold both will continue to revalue. There was one economist that said in order to pay off all the debts in America, you had to revalue gold between $10,000 per ounce and $100,000 per ounce. Some people say that's malarkey and it won't happen. But, many financial experts say it has to happen. You have to revalue gold in order to pay off the debt. That's how you pay off debt, is with real money. Okay. So family, I hope you are enjoying the information that we provided. Sister Melissa says, stop asking about that and listen. No one knows. What are you guys asking? When are we going to revalue? I don't know. People are saying they lost their job. I'm so sorry to hear that. Diane says, I'm tearing up. Things are happening, family. Inez says, you rock, sister. Thank you, Sister Inez Rice L. God bless you. Any day now, family. Again, what we're waiting on is Trump to finish executing the executive orders that he has. He's doing a lot, and this is only the third week. Okay. You see him just working day and night. Once he finishes that, according to what we know, he will make an announcement that the Republic has been restored, and then he will turn everything over to the Republic. Then we will have lawful elections. We know that the lawful inauguration for presidents for our Republic is March 4th. So I don't know if we're going to expect to see some on March 4th, but we do know we're going to have some type of huge celebration that's going to be a year-long celebration beginning the Memorial Day of 2025, and it will stretch through July 4th, 2026. And this year-long celebration will occur at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. They're preparing for that right now. Love Being Nubian believes that these accounts of the nefarious deep state operatives have been frozen already. So, I mean, this is good news. Things are happening. I don't think they'll be able to go to their private islands and retire, because a lot of them have actually gone to Guantanamo Bay. And I'll find some information about that. They are being judged at Guantanamo Bay right now and face military tribunal. So once Trump make this announcement that we've returned to the Republic, it could come through an emergency broadcast system announcement. He could just, make an announcement by doing some type of press release. We don't know how that's going to happen, but then we're told we're actually going to see military tribunals on television. But once the deep state, enough of them have been dealt with, then we will turn to a republic. And at the same time, Nasara money will be issued out into the mainstream, and we will exchange our currencies. This is a blessing, and it seems like we are extremely, extremely close. And I feel like Infinite Awareness, I hear Infinite Awareness says, I'm living in poverty, fighting unemployment for my measly $300 a week. They've been holding back for a full year. Oh my God. A lot of people are living that reality. So as much as you can, family, try your best to stay at a high vibrational frequency. I know it's hard. Maybe we can take walks by the beach. And I don't mean to belittle any of this, or make it seem like so simple. Eat high vibrational foods. That's living fruits and vegetables that are not cooked to death or cooked, period. Drink fruit smoothies, fruit juices, because that literally raises your vibrations and it cleanses your cells, and you can actually see your cells jump in excitement. It also increases your libido. So keep, be mindful if you're celibate that your libido will start jumping if you keep eating a lot of raw fruits and vegetables. I am a witness. I'm on that diet right now. But your skin will clear up. You'll feel better. Drink as much water as possible. It will cleanse your cells. I'm not a doctor, but for those of you who believe in fasting or abstaining for food for a period of time, that cleanses your cells. And also makes your body get rid of those cells that are not good and are not working in your favor. And many people have been able to address a lot of illnesses through eating raw, living vegetables and fruits, and by abstaining from food, like maybe going on a fast where they only drink water. So this is all I have to say for now, family. I hope you have enjoyed the podcast. Remember that the scripture says that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. And it also says the meek shall inherit the earth. Somebody wants to know, is it a good idea to buy a house now? I'm not at liberty to advise you, but if you were my family member, what I would say is if you need a place to live right now, then do what you must do. If you can hold out, maybe move with family or just wait a little bit longer, know that the housing market is correcting, that there are houses being dumped onto the market because BlackRock, State Street, and all these mainstream Zillow big companies that bought up. I know it's becoming so hard. I'm sorry, love being new. That bought up a lot of land, farmland, and real estate. They're dumping their real estate back onto the market. Also, Evergrande, the largest real estate agency or company owned by China, filed for bankruptcy here in America. God's girl said, yeah, go ahead and buy that house now if you need it. So when they filed for bankruptcy, they were forced to liquidate. A lot of the houses are being dumped on the market, but you will continue to see a downward spiral. You will continue to see more houses, more real estate, more land, more farmland, more apartment complexes, more corporate buildings that are now empty because a lot of their CEOs have been arrested and dealt with, or a lot of their CEOs, you look at that forced resignation list info, resignation.info, they've been forced to retire or step down. Some of them been unalive. With all of this going on in the world and President Trump, having military tribunals, which we were able to see some of them in 2018 through seedvine.com. It was seed-vine.com. Everybody didn't know about it, but some of us actually saw military tribunals, okay? Well, all of this happening, you continue to see real estate being dumped on the housing dumped on the market, housing prices coming down. That, along with us returning to the gold standard, will mean you'll have more buying power. We're going to return to 1971 prices before we came off the gold standard. So the prices will be lower. You'll have more buying power. So let's say your house costs $500,000 now. It may cost, let's just give a number like a couple hundred, maybe like $100,000 or $10,000. Whatever, because with the gold standard, your money will stretch. Your money will stretch, you have more buying power, and the prices will come down to pre-1971 times. So all of this is happening, as well as immigrants and illegal, unlawful immigrants and migrants being here, absorbing the resources. Now that with them being deported, there's being more money. Also with the sovereign wealth fund that Trump created, we're just going to have so much money here in America. Okay. And so many opportunities. But right now you can buy depreciated assets. And this is how people during the Depression became rich. They just bought depreciated assets and they waited. And then when the crash happened, they were able to make good on those depreciated assets. I did a podcast on that, by the way. What are some depreciated assets right now? The real estate market, as houses are being dumped on the market, foreign currencies, because those countries' currencies that were devalued through sanctions or war now have a lower rate on them, so you can buy those currencies and then wait to those countries, have made an announcement that they have repatriated the gold back to them, which we already saw that happening, or that they've returned to the gold standard, which you see many of them already talking about that. When after that, all that happens, they will reinstate their currencies back to their pre-sanction and pre-war rates. Those of you that bought those depreciated currencies from Vietnam, Iraq, Venezuela, Indonesia, India, Zimbabwe, name the countries. Those of you that hold those currencies, you can then go get a new exchange rate once those currencies rates have been reinstated, okay? And you will become wealthy. If you can't afford that, look at digital coins or digital assets that you can get into that are just a few cents and hold on, hold on for dear life. Okay, look at gold Arum notes or gold backs. Google gold online companies like SD Bullion, JM Bullion, Great American Coin Country, Gold Silver Bullion, APMEX, APMEX, all types of gold online currency companies that sell gold Arum notes, which is 0.999 real gold, real 24 karat gold, and some real 14 karat gold pressed onto a note. Those are considered legal tender. Merchants recognize gold and silver as money, okay? But if you want to put pressure on merchants to recognize it sooner, silver and gold as money, all you have to do is operate at the local level. You can pressure lawmakers to do that now, because the 10th Amendment of the Constitution, or the Constitution for our republic, states that local communities have more power than the federal government. So put pressure on lawmakers. We don't have to sit on our laurels and say, when is it going to happen? I'm tired of happening. Everybody's kicking the can down the road. We can get off our tushies, stop watching social media, get off our phones, and actually operate at the state and local level and force our lawmakers to make merchants recognize silver and gold as money. But behind the scenes, we already know that 46 states have repealed or removed the state sales taxes from precious metals, thus acknowledging gold and silver as legal tender and reclaiming silver and gold as lawful money. I've reported that many, many times. You can look up an article by the Sound Money Defense League that says 46 states, let's see, reclaim silver and gold as money. See if I can find that. If I can't find it now, what I'll do for you is I'll put it in the description section. Let's see if it is here. New Jersey was the 46th state. You can find that. Let's see, 46 states. Oh, Sound Money Defense League. Oh, great. Hopefully this is it. So 46 states have removed state sales taxes from the sales of precious metals and reclaimed silver and gold as money. And then King's World produced an article February 2023 that says the world is hurtling back towards using gold as money. So many things are happening. That's all I'm saying, family. Stay encouraged. Here is that article right here about the world rushing back to silver and gold as money. This is a real thing. Let me see if I can find the 46 states. Remove 46 states reclaim silver and gold. I don't see it here, but again, I'll find the article. I've reported it many times. You guys know that I have. I see something that says the state laws are declaring a shift to gold and silver as money. States deem silver and gold as legal tender, et cetera, et cetera. But the Sound Money Defense League has a comprehensive article. So that's it, family. I hope you have enjoyed the podcast. If indeed you desire to support my work, then you can send a blessing. Somebody asked, do I have Cash App? Yes, it's $ Mama Kia 13, MAMAKIA 13. And I do have PayPal. I'll put that in the description section. But your time, your energy, your presence is a blessing for me, and that is enough. Trying to see if I can find the 46 states Sound Money Defense League. States restoring silver and gold as money. I'll show you that article right quick, and I will put it in the chat for you. Here you go. 46 states for Sound Money Defense League. It goes down here. It says to date, 45 states have removed some or all the taxes from the sales of precious metals, thus acknowledging silver and gold as money. There's another article about Sound Money Defense League that says 46 states have done the same. So having said that, family, we're going to wrap up here. Oh my God, did I lose you? Oh my gosh, I lost you. I'm so sorry. It looks like I lost you. Family, I apologize. My name is Kia Pruitt. I see you have an echo. I trust that I said something to raise your vibrations. I hope I said something to raise your vibrations and inspire you to create the most amazing, magnificent life that you desire and deserve. Good night, family. Go and make this a great evening. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.